Uncanceled Comedy Collective presents Top Censored News of the Week. It's time for Top Censored News of the Week. We're bringing you the stories that the mainstream media just refuses to cover, but if they do cover them, they always do it in a very dishonest or sloppy way, and it's always on purpose. I'm here today with co-host Craig Pasa Jardula, and we're going to go through the top 3 stories this week that the mainstream doesn't want you to be talking about. Coming in at number 3, Trump taps AI Zionist tech company Palantir to create master database on every U.S. citizen. Now, this is the thing that ties it all together. The thing that is the exact opposite of what MAGA, Trump, the entire campaign was about, was going against this type of thing. That's what he ran on. That's what people voted for. This is the exact opposite. If anything, this is the epitome of all the things wrong with where we are now. And of course, the mainstream doesn't even want to report on this accurately because it's only going to incriminate them as well. Here's the story right here. So Trump is tapping Palantir. They're creating a master database on every American. Now, some people might say, well, why does it? Who cares? That doesn't really matter, does it? If you're not doing anything wrong, I guess that should be fine, right? You as long as you don't have anything to feel guilty about, that should be fine. Hey, that's the age of the information. It's all accessible. It's easy. It's concise, right? No problems, really? Well, let's look behind this thing. We found this article from 2017. So we knew that Palantir was a problem way before what this current administration's second term is going, and way before Biden, way before COVID, way before any of this, way before Elon Musk bought X. We knew that Palantir, the special ops tech giant, wields as much real-world power as Google. Peter Thiel, CIA-backed data mining firm, honed its crime-predicting techniques against insurgents in Iraq. Wow, interesting. They tested it on foreign soil before they tested it on domestic American citizens. The same methods will now be sold to police departments. Oh, wow. That'll be nice. Will they inflame already tense relationships between the public and the police? Of course they will. And of course, Minority Report, the film from 2002, does come to mind. This was supposed to be a futuristic fiction piece. The LAPD pre-crime unit that Tom Cruise played, using the premonitions of sentient mutants called precogs. And the police can predict your behavior before you do it. Wow, that doesn't seem like too much crazy power to give any one entity, does it, Craig? And look at this. Where did the money come from? Looks like it came from Jeffrey Epstein, who invested with Peter Thiel and his estate, which that money then turned into the big conglomerate that we know now as Palantir. So we have to follow the money as well. Where did it come from? That doesn't seem that shady. Now, does it, Craig? On top of that, now we have Elon Musk's his X platform is joining with Palantir to push into the financial sector. All these things came together. There was only a handful of people reporting on this. We know Whitney Webb did some incredible story on this, incredible work on this. Even a year ago, we had all this information. Everything was coming together on this. And now the CEO, this is where it gets really, really bad. He's going to use his position now in this company to push back against what he calls anti-Israel protests. He's calling them pagan and says he's dreamed of drone striking his enemies. This is the type of person Alex Karp is. And he says you need to teach the enemy a lesson. That's how you create, as he says, peace in the world, by punishing your enemy. And we have this clip. We played this on Tuesday. I'm going to play it again just so we can see the worst of the worst is what this guy is saying publicly, that sometimes you have to murder people to create peace. Here he goes.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
On occasion, kill them. So this
talking
is
about
like,
Hamas.
Yeah, what about Hamas? Exactly.
Yeah, there were 3 girls in the way. Who cares? We want to go after them.
So who's upset about this besides us? What do you think, Craig? Are you seeing push back on this, because these are like all the super villains. This is like literally a super villain team coming together, wielding all the power, taking it all away from all of our human rights, all of everything in our Constitution. They created this super villain team. Who's upset about this besides us right now? Have you seen?
Well, once again, if there was only a show months ago, like when JD Vance was selected, who we said to watch out for right away, and what they were doing, and it's important to point out, and I'm not pointing out because just to keep along the chronological order of things that happened, right? There were people out there like Robert Barnes, who I admire a lot of his work. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but I agree with him on most things, I should say. But even there were guys like him pushing and saying, well, we have to get dirty. We have to do business with the devil. There has to be a movement of AI. There has to be a movement of collecting data. And what better not a guy like Palantir and Peter Thiel to do that, you know what I'm saying? Excusing it and pushing against people like Whitney and others who were saying, no. Peter Thiel has been working with the CIA for quite some time. His company was given a ton of money by the CIA. Probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the CIA. So don't downplay that. This is, you're anti-CIA, you're anti, you want to protect the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. All those things are you hold dear, that they all complained about. Your freedom of speech was taken away. So many people on the populist right, lost their First Amendment right. We've had unlawful search and seizures. We've had no due process, all these things. But now it's happening on the other side, and people are cheering it on. And it was important to point out that those guys going along with it, because it was but Trump. He was the outsider. Yep. He's the one who's going to take on the deep state. And we're like, no, he's not. He's part of the deep state. Oh, you guys are just black pill nihilists. You don't know what you're talking about. Donald Trump is really fighting and battling with these people. I think that's what a lot of the attempted assassinations were about, too, was like martyring him in a way. At least it was a digital martyr from what we saw on Twitter. And how people just were then, he became Jesus in that moment. And I think everything we saw was by design. But when it comes to this particular situation, it's interesting because there are some people who are still holding on. But there was a character named Mr. Leahy on the Trailer Park Boys, which is like a Netflix kind of show. It was a low funded show, but it just got a lot of waves. I think Netflix eventually picked it up, whatever the case may be. But there was a character named Pat Leahy, and he would often use the term shit line. Ricky, you got a shit line, right? You know the rules, Matt. You don't cross my shit line. I don't cross your shit line. And I'm sorry for doing so much cursing. But that's what he was saying. He would describe, he's like, when the moment would happen, when he would be pissed off and going full blown at going to fight the Trailer Park Boys, is when they crossed the shit line. I think for a lot of MAGA people, this was a shit line. Right? This was enough is enough. We've seen other things. We've made excuses. Some people pointed out the other day, they said that they should have caught on when they were talking about the HB visas, when they completely changed their tune when Donald Trump was, I'm for the visas. And Elon Musk was for the visas. And like, wait, that's something you stand against, because we just did a little research and saw that you're not funding the best people to coming in here. You're giving chefs and line cooks jobs. You're giving people that in America have jobs, and that's where the majority of these jobs are going to. You're just doing it so you can hold that person hostage and pay them cheap wages. They said back then they should have caught on. That was another we told you so moment. And come to this today, this was a big one. This Palantir one, I think, is a big one, because not just the way it's, not the fact that it's just been done and Palantir is going to take on this. It's what they're doing. They're also creating systems in which all intelligence and federal agencies, a central database in which they can all just look up and share each other's information. So whatever the CIA has got on you could be shared with what's going on with the DIA, DIH, whatever the IRS has on you can be shared with the CIA. And that is another like very, very big red flag. And it's just, all this is happening. I think that we do see a moment now where it's crossed the shit line, and a lot of people are like, okay, we were wrong. You were right. However, the people that are holding on are a new term I've called. They're the neo-xenophobic people within the campaign. The neo-xenophobic people in the campaign, the neo-xenophobic supporters of Donald Trump, and he has a bunch of neo-xenophobic supporters. They're okay with it because Palantir is selling it and Donald Trump is selling it. His administration is, we're doing this to fix the illegal immigration process.
So if you're on the fence still on the MAGA side, or you're ready to speak out and you haven't yet, but you're ready to, you might want to take a cue from, and it doesn't mean you have to be in the street with the pro-Palestinian protesters, but you might want to take a cue for how disruption works, how being loud works, maybe from a little, and I don't know how you feel about this one, Craig, but they didn't waste a second. Code Pink got right on this. This is them interrupting this is an actual Palantir AI summit that Code Pink interrupts to demand that they attest for their operations in Gaza with their AI technology. Here it is.
Figure out how, if I really want to bring about change and bring about a more adaptable culture. Hey, Gio.
Yeah.
Gio. Behind me.
All right. How wonderful, Mr. Secretary, to live in a country where people are allowed to speak their mind, ask questions of their governments, because in fact,
well, they're not. So stop pretending that this was something that you allowed. They forced their way on that stage and then they got removed. So yeah, go ahead. Let us know how much worse it is in other parts of the world that we are occupying and murdering and torturing and, just annihilating. Yeah, tell us how much better it is over there, over here than over there.
the adversaries we're up against, whether they're the genocidal communists in Beijing or the Salafi jihadists in the Middle East, don't allow such luxuries of their own citizens. So apologies for the interruption.
Yeah, they don't allow luxuries like getting thrown out of a room when you want to be heard. That's the only way to be heard, is to get on that stage and shout and bring a sign. That's the only way. And these people have to go to jail all the time. We know Code Pink gets arrested all the time for their protesting. We know what happens when you get deplatformed, when they come after you, they shadow ban you. So yeah, I'm sure that's a really a feel good way to have a conversation, but that's all we can really do right now. So kudos to Code Pink for doing that. And however, if you don't have to be for that purpose. There's a lot of other things you should be upset about right now that this company is going to be doing, that is going to be taking away all of our rights. Everybody's affected by this. So that's all. I was just going to say, get out from your keyboard and go out and actually do something. Maybe, I don't know. That's just my take. Hopefully the movement gets bigger. Yeah.
Let's talk about this because can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this. This is important right here. This is a very important part of, and I'm hoping that Jeremy likes this part right here, because Jeremy is going to give us a good advice on this, yes or no. This is very important for us to explain right here. The people in Code Pink, the people in the Answer Coalition, the people I know. Yesterday on my Wednesday show, I had Margaret Kimberly call in for the first 14 minutes, and it was just bomb, because Margaret Kimberly actually shared something from Steve Bannon. Goes, and there I go, I'm sharing Steve Bannon. After I sent that link to you, remember the tweet I sent to Steve Bannon after the show we did on Monday? And I said, look, Steve Bannon is pretty much watching my show. He said everything I've said on what's going on, Ukraine, Russia. Like, did Donald Trump know? It's important that he know. If he didn't know, and the CIA is just running amok over there, these are things that we should all be saying, hey, we got to stop these things. Not to mention, I said, why isn't Donald Trump called up Lindsey Graham and Dick Blumenthal and say, get the hell out of there right now. We're trying to have negotiations. Come back. Either he's too stupid, or he knows, or he doesn't know, and he's playing along, whatever the case may be. What Code Pink is doing right now, and all those other people I mentioned, Answer Coalition, other people out there, and they are protesting that Palantir, and both Peter Thiel and Alex, what's Alex's last name? Karp, right? Alex Karp have both admitted to, been questioned about, agreed that they're helping the IDFUs to collect data, to target people, to kill people. They're using their skills in a very nefarious way and saying we don't care about it. That's what Code Pink is protesting. What a lot of other people, Trump people, were protesting before Donald Trump was president and thought this would never happen was big tech companies, right? Techno-feudalism, which we're heading down the road to, which, by the way, I kind of talked about on the stage when they did a debate saying, is America becoming a communist country? Over a year and change ago, once again, saying this is what we're heading to. We're heading towards this techno-fascism, right? These corporate entities that will buy, into our technology, buy into our everyday life, and eventually take over and control us. Said this stuff for quite some time. But the people who backed what Donald Trump were against, they were against major data collecting, AI, from these corporations to be used in a nefarious way in which they're using it. Very different than what the Code Pink people are protesting for. You're killing Israelis. Fuck off. But that's the problem with that group. They never go down the rabbit hole. Like, hey, if we can connect the dots for them to saying, all right, Medea, you're upset Palantir's using their technology, selling it to the IDF, using it to kill Israelis. What else is Palantir doing? And that's bad. Because when you could sell it that they're not only going to use it to kill Israelis, the brown people, they're going to use it to come after you. Then you build the coalition. And that's important.
That's
because
exactly
I've been
right.
in rooms with two different people who are against one entity for two different reasons. If you don't connect the dots, then it falls on its face. We need to connect the dots. Jeremy Weinglass, I hope you approve of this message. Go ahead, Matt.
I know he does. And I do too, Craig. And I'm happy for you to say that, because this is how we beat them at their game, is we align on the singular issue and we fight back on that. We can argue about the other stuff later. That's fine. But right now, let's align and let's go after them. That's how protesting works. That's how disruption works. And that's how we get the power back to the people. Okay, let's get
By the
to
way,
the
I
numbers.
think that just really quickly, Matt, I think
Okay,
that the left and the right never put together when it came to COVID, too. I think a lot of people were like, somebody asked me, an activist asked me, she goes, are they just using it? How are they using it to kill more brown and poor people? And I was like, see, that's the game in COVID. It's a little bit different. Quoting my good friend Steve Poikonen, when it came to COVID, Whitey had to go. It showed you that the ruling class didn't care about white people in America either, because they were the most accepting to the narrative and what was going on. The most questionable, the black American community were like, I don't know about this. Hey, Saturday Night Live did a whole skit on Trivial Pursuit about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Showing it's like, I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when you understand that the ruling class, yes, they hate and they despair and they go after minorities more. And I hate to use the term minorities, black and brown people would be the best term to do it. But that's also to keep their game going of divide and conquered, to keep a bunch of white people going, thinking, that they're the chosen ones, when at the end of the day, they clearly show you they're not. That you're all useless eaters. They hate you all, the 1%.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're figuring it out now, and that's what's important. Moving forward.
Sorry about that. I had to throw that in there.
No, it's good to draw those connections for sure. And we're all getting smarter. We're all getting stronger at our ability to push back, because we're learning from the past, and we don't want to fall for the same trick twice. I think that's the point. Okay, coming in at number 2, IDF opened fires directly at starving people gathered to get aid in Rafah. Here is a shot of the firing on innocent people trying to get food, who are in the process of starving to death, by the way. Now, this is no different than the way we've seen them being treated this entire time, this entire year and a half. We've seen this type of treatment. The reason why this one, now, there's people out there that think that the aid is getting there. They think that, oh, yeah, Israel's cooperating. No, we know that all the barricades have been set up. We know that aid workers themselves get targeted. They get murdered. That the aid doesn't even get to the people. But in this case, the line of people were there. They came hours and hours to get there in horrible conditions just to show up and be fired on. I'm going to play a little clip of this. This is a kid who survived the firing. His mom did not survive. But he's so enraged and so emotional at this point but he's able to express himself. And there is I believe there's a translation here. So we're going to do this for just a little bit of this, but this is so you guys can understand how the human side of this is so affected. And the mainstream will not tell you any of this. Here we go. My name is Ahmad Mohammed Zaidan. The Zionist army came and said, go collect aid coupons. First time we didn't believe them because they're occupiers. We don't believe them because they're enemies. But we went thinking that we give boxers respectfully, politely. But they turned out to be filthier than ever. We stayed from 7 in the evening until dawn. Tanks on one side, sea on another. Zionist occupation soldiers on another, quadcopters on one side. Where are we supposed to go? Oh, European countries, look at us. Oh, Arab countries, look at us. We're human beings like you. No aid distribution. We have no food, no water. We, the people of Gaza, are steadfast until the end of days. And I say to the Israeli army, you will never defeat the people of Gaza. Gaza's strength comes from God, while your strength is in your weapons. We are a great people. I'm telling every person in Gaza to not go to the aid distribution center because the occupier is a liar. Journalists like you report the massacres happening here. Gaza is under siege, and their strength, they won't defeat us. We are a great people. And I say to the youth, don't go to the distribution center. May God curse the aid. We don't want their humiliation. Either they give it to us or not. Okay, and then here is, today my mother was martyred. Before her, my brother was martyred in this war. And God knows who else will lose. There are no guarantees for anyone. But I say to America and to every Arab country, we will not be humiliated. We will live with dignity. It takes that type of strength to even be able to speak about what you're going through at this point. Nobody can really imagine this. I don't think any of us can fully imagine what this is like, to be starving for so many days, show up at a place like this, just be fired upon. Your mother gets shot down. You're sitting there going, we didn't even bring, what are you firing on us for? Did you think that we were here to attack you? You know we weren't, but that's the spin, right? That, it's always that the IDF feels threatened. That's their spin. Threatened by starving people who show up with empty bags to put flour in, if they're lucky, which they didn't get. The whole thing was a big con job, and this is what the people are left with. This is what they're doing. And then today, we saw this. This is the same situation where they are destroying them, destroying their resources right in front of them, and anybody who tries to stop it is getting fired upon. This is an actual Israeli bulldozer destroying a hospital facility. This is in northern Gaza, while there's military vehicles opening fire at anybody around them. This just was this morning. Check this one out. Craig, I don't even know what to say about this anymore. We threw this on Top Censored News because we know for a fact this is not reported on. What the mainstream continues to report on, however, is the biggest problem in our country is anti-Semitism. The biggest problem is people having a problem with this. That's the problem. And they're going to continue to double and triple down on that story and not tell the story of the poor Palestinian people who are being, like the kid said, humiliated and made into a joke. And he's saying, I will tell people, do not show up at these places. They're doing a bait and switch on us, and they're trying to humiliate us. So we're just going to have to figure out how to do this another way. We do not trust the occupiers. We do not trust anybody who says they reach out their hand. No, take my hand. No. I promise you this time. That last time, don't worry about that. This time I mean it. No, do not trust the occupiers. Do not trust the Western imperialism and the Western war machine and Western propaganda for that matter.
Well, I'll give you another one on top of everything. Not only is all this happening and we're acting like it's not happening, because it's been radio silence, Matt, on the mainstream media 4 months on Israel, Gaza. Radio silence, not even talking about it. But I've been switching around on morning shows, watching them, paying attention, seeing what's going on, see what they're talking about, putting on some mainstream media here. Radio silence, and that's by design, right? Because then what does it do to the United States citizen? It becomes a blur. We don't hear about it. It's not talked about. It's not talked about on the radio. It's talked about on Pacifica radio channels, by the way, on WBAI. I'm not even close with Katie Halper, but her show that she's been putting up there on WBAI comes on at 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. And before my show, I follow right up with it. And a lot of times we do have a lot of people wanting to talk about Israel, Gaza, because they're so worked up on the things she is reporting and really going deep in the paint with the mentality. And what is the mentality of the American voter now, the American citizen, when it comes to Israel, Gaza? Almost nothing, because it's not talked about. And it's so awful that it's not talked about, because it's not only not talked about and it's happening for real, it's happening on our dime. We're paying for it. The president has immense power when it comes to foreign policy. And if he really wanted to, he can cut the flow off right away. He can do it. He cut the spigot in Ukraine. That would end in 2 weeks. There's no way that Europe would be able to supply. He can cut the spigot off in Gaza, and that would end almost immediately, because we are the number one supplier to Gaza when it comes to Israel, to kill all Gaza, what's going on. And when you hear terms like controlled starvation, it only equals one thing: genocide and ethnic cleansing. That's what they want. I mean, the only other thing they could be doing trying to kill these people, if they weren't interested in ethnic cleansing and genocide, would be trying to lure Hamas out to come fight them while they're doing this. But I don't think Hamas will do that, because like they say, they're right there on the seas. These are areas. This is what they want. Maybe that'd be the only thing I can see. And even if that is the case, they shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's disgusting. And what's going on is disgusting. It is an ethnic cleansing. It is a genocide. We saw the other day Max Blumenthal got thrown out of some place, and some girl was trying to go toe-to-toe with him. And then she turned around. After what's the definition of a genocide? Then she turned around and started crying. You're not the victim, honey. The IDF is not the victim. Israel is not the victim. The victim here in the world needs to see are the Palestinians. And what that kid was saying, man, that was tough. That was deep. And I've even said, we've had these discussions. Well, what do you want now? And what's on your wish list? I had wished for many years that they could stop this situation and the people in Gaza can live in peace. But right now, they're not going to stop until they're completely annihilated. They got everything in place right now. Israel does. They got the presidency of the West. They got the Donald Trump, who will let them do whatever, who's okay to everything. And now they're going to be mass murdered until they're all gone. So now I've even said I hope they can find a place to seek refuge, because I'd like to see them live. I'd like to see this kid live. But, man, it is a sad situation, Yeah.
Yeah, very sad.
And it's on our dime.
It's on our dime. So this is why we should be furious. And we are. And we're trying to be as loud about this as possible, even fighting against all the censorship and all the deplatforming and all the, criminalizing of free speech and all the misrepresentation, the misreporting of this on purpose. Speaking of misreporting, let's get to the number one story, because sometimes, once in a while, people with a lot of reach or a lot of pull or a lot of, eyes on them can actually do something about this if they have enough courage. And I was shocked to find out how much somebody like Greta Thunberg was doing, regardless of where she came from in the past. What she's doing right now is pretty phenomenal. And that brings us to our number one story. Number one, top censored news this week: Israel is ready to take military action against the Freedom Fellowship en route to deliver aid to starving Gazans. Greta Thunberg is on board. This is in real time. We're getting updates on the story, but just to update you guys, if you haven't heard what's going on, this was, and I love that the Jewish Voice for Peace put this out. Happening now, 12 activists, including Greta Thunberg, are en route to Gaza with the goal of bringing much-needed aid to Palestinians, breaking the Israeli government's genocidal blockade, starving over 2.3 million people. This is Greta getting a little interview while she's en route with Amy Goodman, who we know got Ukraine dead wrong, but she seems to be on the right side on this one. Here's a little clip from Amy Goodman interviewing Greta Thunberg on her way to Gaza.
Speaking to you from the United States, where the South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham wrote on X, "Hope Greta and her friends can swim." Your response?
We can swim very well. It says a lot about their priorities that in the face of genocide and systematic starvation of 2 million people, lawmakers, elected officials whose responsibility it should be to serve the people and to protect the people, that they, rather than ending their complicity in genocide and the mass slaughtering of civilians, are focusing on mocking people who are at least trying to do their bits. I think that says everything we need to know about their priorities. And finally, your message to Palestinians who perhaps have read about or heard about your voyage or waiting your arrival. What is your message to them? My message to them would be that we stand behind you in every step of the way. We are standing in solidarity with you. We see you. And I am also my deepest apologies on behalf of the outside world, especially the Western world, that we continue to betray you and that more people are not stepping up. But I promise that at least we here will try our very best.
And she's trying her best. But that tweet she was referring to that Amy brought up is this one from Lindsey Graham. Hope Greta and her friends can swim. Clearly, indirectly threatening her safety. I don't know why that is okay for a sitting senator to do that. With that said, there's a little more to this story as far as how the media is reporting on this. And I'm just going to say this is what they're doing. They are painting her like a crazy person. Greta Thunberg's narcissism has escalated to terrifying levels. This is before she criticized Israel. This is how the mainstream. If you were to Google her before October 7th, this is what you'd get. 15-year-old climate change activist, state of the climate movement, roots of her power as an activist, CNN. Greta Thunberg got the world's attention, but are the leaders really listening? Guardian, Swedish 15-year-old who's cutting class to fight the climate crisis. All great. Good job, because back then she was the face of the establishment machine, told, not just greenlit, handpicked to do that. Well, what happens when she does a real activism for herself, not on behalf of the establishment? This is what you get when you Google her now. The sad tragedy of Greta Thunberg. Spiked. Greta Thunberg and the Gen Z's irrational hatred of Israel. Forbes. Greta Thunberg stands with Gaza as a problem for the climate change movement. New York Post. Greta Thunberg named anti-Semite of the week. Of course she was. Of course she was. And there's that tweet again. So this is what's going on in spite of the work she's doing. And this is the current update I have from Adam, who put this out just a couple hours ago. Breaking: Greta Thunberg's aid ship will be met with Israeli missile boats and elite commando unit if it tries to deliver aid or provokes the IDF. Israel also announced those on board will be arrested. That's where we are right now. Craig, want to give your thoughts on Greta Thunberg's rise and fall or shift, or what is going on with her? And can people see the difference between this and the climate change chapter of her life, that this is definitely different? Unless you disagree. I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I disagree. This is a psyop. This is once again to divide and conquer. So many people on the right cannot stand Greta Thunberg. The people on the right, and the populist right, the Trump people too as well, when you debate them about climate change, you know, the left seems so over the top that they don't really have a lot of backing behind it. And then Greta represents that segment of that. And then, you know, they've also said they saw that like at certain other places that they had crisis management set up. You got to be careful of these psyops, right? You don't have to get behind a person in a movement. You could say, very well, good for Greta. I don't care for Greta. If I had the opportunity to drop on that flotilla, I would too as well. Share my piece that I have up here, because it's been done before. It's been done before by somebody we've had on the combo couch for many years. Cynthia McKinney, relief boat struck. She did this whole thing about the flotilla. This is old news, guys. This is nothing new. What Greta Thunberg is doing, this has been done before. Cynthia McKinney, a former congresswoman from Georgia and Green Party candidate for president, is among 16 activists sailing to Gaza with medical aid. They said they will defy the Israel blockade. Okay, that was in, what year was this? Where's the date? Where's the date?
Here,
I don't see the date. It won't let me get to the whole article. It's down there. December 30th, 2008. I mean, this has been done a long time ago. I think Ken O'Keefe was also on this boat too as well, the activist, the journalist, the guy who goes on press TV all the time, the ex-Marine. He's awesome. He was on that same boat, I think the same flotilla. In fact, Cynthia McKinney spent, I believe, 2 days in a jail for this, an Israeli jail, nonetheless, when this happened. So this has been done before. This is other people, bigger people who've done it before. I certainly would endorse Cynthia McKinney, everything she's done, her line of work compared to Greta Thunberg. But that's what I think they're doing. I think they're using Greta Thunberg to be more divisiveness in it.
Okay, so I hear your take on this.
That's what this is about. I mean, this has been done before.
Can you explain then why she's not being embraced the same way? Like, she's not going on MSNBC or CNN. That's not happening. She used to. She used to be on all the time. So you're saying she signed up to be villainized now on all the networks, not just Fox?
She's an op. She can be used in any way that she can, the way the wind blows, whichever way they can benefit off her. You know, Greta Thunberg has displayed many times before that she is a controlled opposition.
Well, I believe she was, but does she have a choice to say no more? I'm out. Like,
absolutely not. Once you're in, you're never out.
I'm just saying, is it possible to do the reverse projection?
Why are they highlighting her? Why are they highlighting her for something that's been done for many people before her? She's pulling the same stunt over again. And you think that Greta Thunberg would really risk her life if she knew that the IDF would kill her? I bet you 1,000,000 to 1 they don't kill her. They just take her and imprison her and do the same thing they did to Cynthia McKinney. I bet you 1,000,000 to 1 that would happen.
The same thing to Richard Medhurst. The same thing to, I mean, I'm saying, okay. So you're saying the IDF is
they're lionizing her again.
So we have all these.
Donald Trump.
Wait. We have all these examples of the IDF like murdering their own people. They come out with the white flags. You're saying they can be trusted not to open fire on. I just want to be clear here. You're saying
they already know which boat she's in, and there's been an Israeli commander said, "Make sure, guys, you don't kill anybody on this boat. We have to take them captive. They must come to us alive."
They always do exactly.
You want to bet $1 million that she doesn't get killed? All right, let's bet $5 she doesn't get killed. I'll bet you $5.
They fired.
You think that Greta Thunberg has the balls to put her life on the line?
She was on the ship. She was on the ship with aid a few weeks ago. They got fired on. That ship was in process of sinking.
Alive? She doesn't look like she has a scratch on her.
I'm just saying if I'm a controlled psyop, I would even be like, wait a minute, you're telling me that the IDF has done a secret handshake and I'm going to be okay when your own people aren't okay on October 7th. Your own people aren't okay when they're released.
Matt, they know exactly what boat she's on. Okay. They're not going to fire on the boat. This is a stunt. This is so we could try the controlled opposition once again. Okay. They don't want real leaders taking place. They want Fugazi leaders taking place. This is just as plain as day. Okay, plain as day to me. This is a psyop. Greta Thunberg is participating, and
I'm not ruling it out. I'm
narrative managed psyop. She is not to be lionized in any way, shape, or form. Sorry, get out of here.
Okay, well, no way. Once a controlled psyop, you never. It's like it's a gang, right? You're in the gang. You're in for life. You can't leave.
Kill you when you get to her level.
If you leave the gang, they kill you. Okay, well, I'm glad we had this discussion, and that should do it.
But can I say something? The actions, that should be the energy, right? We all can't get on a flotilla and get into Israel, but we should be saying aid needs to get in now.
Absolutely. Aid needs to get in now. End of story. And that should do it for Top Censored News of the Week. All right.